Hello and welcome to Decorating Pages podcast. I am your host, Kim Wannop. How are you? Look at this, 2 in 1 week. Yeah, how lucky is this? February is pretty good. So far, so good. I have an amazing conversation in this episode with the production designer and set decorator of Nosferatu, Craig Lathrop, and set decorator Beata Brentnerova. Man, how much work they put into that, you can't wait. Just wait. It's a good one. In yesterday's little podcast I gave you, I forgot to mention that the SDSA Film Awards are also going to be announced. That date is this week, February 7th, so Friday. So good luck to everyone. I cast my vote. I think voting might have closed already if you are an SDSA member. But thanks to everyone, I'm sure, who voted, and good luck to everyone. What else? I watched the Grammys on Sunday night, and I think the set design I think they used the same set as last year, which I like, that big Grammy thing, and then all the individual, it's like, music videos. Like, we don't get music videos anymore, so it's kind of nice to watch the Grammys and watch the scenery and the music collaborate together. What I must say I loved about the Grammys was the emphasis that they put on Los Angeles and the fires, and having the firefighters come out to give out the final award. I thought was fantastic. And they gave commercial time, so national commercial time, to local businesses that were affected by the fires. And I thought that's really impactful. I thought that was a really great idea, and I hope that the other awards follow suit for that. I think it would be I don't care, copycat, just do it. I think that's a great thing. I'm blown away that they, are doing that. I think that's a wonderful thing for those businesses because so many were lost in the fires. It's unbelievable, especially in Altadena. So let's get to a little bit here. What do I got going on? Oh, I am listening to The Path to Paradise by Sam Wasson, who I enjoy his books. I think he's a really good writer and goes very in depth. But this one is about Francis Ford Coppola and the making of Apocalypse Now. And I will be honest, I have only seen bits and pieces of that film. I have never seen it all the way through. I'm waiting till the end of this book to watch the whole thing. But they also talk about his career and how he got started and into the business, and I was really producer and had American Zoetrope, and I have no idea he was like best friends with George Lucas. I thought Spielberg and Lucas were like the buddies, but Coppola really and George Lucas were really buds, gotta say. But they do talk a lot about The Conversation, which I love. I love that movie. It's probably like top 10 movies that I love. And that production designer is Dean Tavelaris and set decorator Doug Van Koss, who also did, I think, Return of the Jedi. Another one of my faves. But yeah, The Conversation. If you haven't seen The Conversation with Gene Hackman, there's so many stars in it too. Duvall and Harrison Ford. It's really good. It's one of my, all right. But then, so they talk about Francis Ford Coppola, and I was unaware that Francis Ford Coppola won Best Screenplay for Patton in 1970. I had no idea. So I watched that. Production designer Yuri McCleary and Gil Parado, set decorators Antonio Mateos and Pierre-Louis Trevent. They won Best Production Design 1970 for Patton. I kind of fell asleep. I mean, there's like an intermission in that movie. The most fascinating, the set designs are great, and they were, where were they at? They were in, I think, the Middle East. I forget where they were now because I look up all these facts, when I'm watching it and I'm falling asleep. But I was watching something on Amazon and it ended, and then they randomly put on Beast Games, which is like a Squid Game meets like how to become a millionaire, like that type of thing. It's a crazy game. I have no idea who this guy is. I guess he's a YouTube sensationalist, and so I just thought the design of this game is pretty awesome. They have 1,000 people in one room. They're all standing on these blocks in like rows of 100, so 10 rows of 100 people. and they're standing on these blocks. And between the blocks, it looks like you're going to plunge to your death. I don't know how they do it. It's like mirrors or reflective flooring or something. It's a really clever design. And as the people get eliminated, they just drop the floor down. So at one point, they eliminate the whole row, and the whole row goes down. It's pretty cool. Um, Design wise, I would check it out. I only, and then they go into this town for the second episode, but I didn't get that far. But production designer Steve Lionheart, Dave Edwards, and Isabella Scione. No decorator, which is always weird. That happens a lot in variety and game shows. But I'd say bravo to that design. I enjoyed it. So yeah. What else? I have got my boys into watching. They're 6 years old. I got them into watching Brady Bunch, the original Brady Bunch series, and guess what? It's fantastic. And now they ask, "Mommy, can I watch the show with the three girls and the three little boys?" Like they love it. The design of the Brady Bunch is fantastic. The color scheme, the house. I'm gonna take them by the house. It's over there in North Hollywood. It's like right off the 174, I think. The color, the patterns. It's really great. If you wanna like go be nostalgic, go check out the Brady Bunch. I think it's on Pluto. It's a free. It's with commercials, which is kind of a bummer, but yeah, that's a good one. What else am I watching? Oh, I checked out this classic His Girl Friday, which I think is 1940 with Cary Grant. And he's like when he and Rosalind Russell, and he's got that like talking like the 40s talk it's going on, which I can't do. I can't do that impersonation for you. But art director Lionel Banks is the designer on that, and it's like a newspaper, and they're getting divorced, and they fall back in love with each other. And then I realized this story has been told a million times, like, which I think is directly, I can't remember, but I think it's I Love Trouble with Nick Nolte and Julia Roberts. I think that's the same story from the 90s. But yeah. So let's review the Brady Bunch. Check out, what was it called? Beast Games. And if you haven't seen the conversation, you have to, or you're not allowed to listen anymore. This is it. Pulling the plug. So yeah. And let's get to this episode. How about that? I am talking to production designer Craig Lathrop and set decorator Beata Brentnerova about the hauntingly beautiful world of Nosferatu. Craig shares what it is like teaming up again with director Robert Eggers after The Witch and The Lighthouse and bringing their signature attention to detail to this eerie classic. We dive into the team's research for tiny period details like wallpaper, drapery, lighting to create the film's dark, immersive atmosphere. Craig breaks down the massive builds from the Transylvania gypsy town to the sprawling harbor streets, and Beata shares how hand-stitched linens and hidden occult symbolism brought the world to life. So I absolutely enjoyed speaking with them. Please check out the YouTube video with all of the pictures of their sets. Please check out the Art Directors Guild website with all of the nominated ADG people who the ADGs are this weekend. So I think after this weekend they don't post them anymore, but you have everyone's drawings up there and sketches and it's just incredible. I wish they would keep them up. I really do. Or have like a separate site of like so you could go and look at everyone's drawings. Like it's just fantastic. So I think it's your last week to check that out. So, but again, I have it on YouTube too. I take little screenshots and then you can see what's going on. Okay? So I hope you enjoy. I know that's nothing compared to where other clients.
Yeah, it's the same.
But yeah. But my whole family's Becky, so I came from the cold, so I know. I feel for you. So I know that you have a history with the director and everything. What do you have an inkling of this project's coming up? I really hope we get to do it. Or is it just assumed? Because I know in this working environment, we're kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to do this next. Oh yeah, we're going to do that. And when you
In this particular working environment, I think there's always a question mark: Are we going to do it, or are we not going to do it? I mean, it's
yeah.
that wasn't always the case, but it is now. Nosferatu, for instance, we were supposed to do this right after we did The Witch,
Mm.
and it fell apart. And we did The Lighthouse,
I
and
love the
then
lighthouse.
just after The Northman, we were supposed to do it again. And I moved to Prague and got started, and then just after a few weeks uh, of me scouting, nobody else was there yet. I was putting together an art department, and it fell apart again. And I didn't know if it was going to come back together, but I'm really happy that it did. A year later, we were moving into our offices in Berendorf, and Beata joined us. And yeah, the rest is history, I guess. So as far as upcoming projects, I think I have another project with him. I'm starting to
Oh,
work on it now.
oh, I hope you do. Because if it's Labyrinth, I hope you do because that's
Uh,
I don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure that it's the labyrinth, not
Mm.
this time.
I hope
So,
I mean that rumor to anyone who grew up with that film is just like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So and to see the history that you guys have together and everything that you've achieved together, I can't imagine how great it would look. So I hope for that. But in coming into this and already being very dark in other subjects, you're not there's no comedies. You guys aren't really comedy people.
no, no, I mean, no. There's some black humor in The Lighthouse. There's some black
Yeah,
humor in every.
that's true. Yeah,
Um,
the doctor and everything. How do you how do you how do you start to give this a different feel? How do you start to give this palette a different feel?
from the other films, I think
Yeah,
they're all very, very different.
yeah.
All the Robert Eggers films are very different. Um, I just approach each one as a new project. It's really kind of the way it is. There's nothing held over from the other shows except for more experience, and uh, an incredible working relationship with all the HODs and with Rob himself. Um, we sort of push each other, but no, there was nothing. So yes, they're all dark. They all have some similarities. They're all Robert Eggers films, that's for sure. Uh, but I just approach it as another film, So you start off doing the research. It's a different time period. It's different. There's a lot of differences. Um,
Is there anything in the relationship that you have with him to say like I know he likes to shoot this way, so I'll sort of cater to that in the design like
for sure,
yeah.
sure, and that's been developing over the course of everything. Um, Both he and Jaron, um, they tend to like to do oneers. They just tend to like to do really long shots.
Mm.
Um, so you have to accommodate those. I know that they often like symmetrical and sort of center framed images, so you know a little bit of what's going on in that. Um, they tend to use different aspect ratios, but that's one of the first things I find out from them is, just what the aspect ratio is, just so that we can, when we're composing, when we're making the sets, and we're thinking about the this 3D world that we're creating, and how what we're really creating is a 2D world, and how it's going to translate into an image. Uh, so yeah, I certainly do have my experience with them leads me to know sort of where they're going. Um, I can I never really know, but I'm not bad at guessing what they're going to want to do.
I would say in the very first preview of this the great preview that leads you into this film, I couldn't take my eyes off of that dollhouse. All I thought was like, I love that
Thank you,
doll.
Beata.
I love that
That dollhouse
dollhouse.
is actually it's based on the house that
Is it the
no,
facade of that
it's the
house?
exterior.
It is.
Beata can tell you about that. They did a fantastic job building it.
Yeah, it was actually based on this exterior. We basically copied what was the exterior facade, and we played avec the French that's coming.
Oh, go for it.
And we played actually with the interior that was of the Harding as
Harding.
Harding, yeah, with the Harding. So actually, it was a little bit of mix of these two times. Uh, and there were very small details. I had a great team that loved have a joy with playing,
Yeah.
So there were textures, there were wallpapers, and I think the guys there were like 1 month doing this dollhouse. So
Oh, wow.
The room that you're in, the room that we're in this scene is actually in that dollhouse as well. I know you can't see it in the film.
But it's in the.
It was spectacular. I mean, honestly, I have two girls. Fortunately, they're grown women now. But I was thinking to myself, oh, if only this had been a few years ago, they
Yeah.
would have loved this.
Yeah. There's.
No, we left it in Prague.
There was even light inside.
Ah.
It was not big, but there was even the small candles inside.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Little details were there.
and that's not this house. That's the Hutter house.
No,
That's
that's
this
the
Harding.
Hutter house. Yeah, that's the Harding
So it's
house.
the Harding house. Okay. But
Yeah, so the Hutter house
is hers.
is hers,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's Thomas Hutter and Ellen. And they're in the older part of town, so they're in half-timbered medieval section of town. And we tried to make sure that you could see sort of their aspirations, Thomas's aspirations. He wants to be more like his friend
Yeah.
Harding. So it's a little uneasy, sort of slammed in ideas of Biedermeier into a uh, some medieval rooms. Um, that's what we were trying to do, at least, so that you could really see the difference between the two characters and also see his aspirations.
For that, and you can see in the furnishings and your like even the lighting and so many beautiful linens and lace that you had for like, and they're in the bed a lot. I mean, you saw a lot of those linens.
It was actually what was quite interesting that we or our seamstress, they did everything's hand stitched, and there was really big difference between a pillow that was hand stitched and pillow that is made by machine. You can. I don't know if we can really see it in the film, but we feel it very much. When you see these differences of technologies, hand stitch and the machine, it's really seen. So everything what you see on the bed was hand stitch.
Wow.
And I'll say they did it in a hurry because I haven't said this to anybody else, but originally we had picked some fabrics that I absolutely loved. And we had them printed, we had them remade, but they had the color was almost of dried blood, was one of the accent colors in it. And we showed it to Rob and he liked it and everything was going forward. But when he saw it in the room, he said, "Oh, you know what? I can't have that red." Um, so like a magician, um, Beata remade them all with new fabric, still got them hand stitched, and still had it all ready for us when we went to camera, which was only in a few days.
Yeah, there were like 4 seamstress working on it during the like 3 days or 4 days left before shooting. So there was a huge job for them.
Was it
Yeah.
besides like I mean we're decorators, we are magicians, but besides that, is sourcing the furniture for this period, was that a big challenge also? Because you have kind of the ordinary and then the extreme here. So you have almost two different versions of the same furniture, same style-ish.
It seems a little bit strange, but basically like the upper class furniture it was easier to find because we could, even it was not in a good condition, we could restore it.
Mm-hmm.
But the furnishing that is like middle class or even a little bit low middle class, it's much worse because not all survived until now because people, very well that everything which is kind of ordinary
Yeah.
doesn't survive so easily, like something which is nice and expensive. So there were challenges on both sides.
When she says that there are challenges, I'll just jump in there and say they they refurnished most of the furniture and reupholstered all of it. And then because we couldn't find everything, they built quite a bit as well.
Oh well.
Um,
Yes, yeah.
The building and upholstering the fabric and
yeah,
doubling
and
up a little
even
bit.
like those little drawings that you see there, those
Yeah.
are just three that fit the page, but those are all things that we built.
Yeah.
And then the page before there were two, and there were some really interesting things. One of my favorite things I had no idea about Beata actually found, and it's a little detail that you don't really see how it works in the film because the way the shot worked, we thought Hutter would be showing this off, but the action changed. But that little almost looks like a birdhouse that you can see in the Hutter's house there. You
Oh
can
yeah,
see
this one.
no, not up above there, that
This.
um
This guy.
yeah, that there.
Oh, and
That's
it's over here.
for people that can't afford a clock. And so what it is you hang up your pocket watch in the little
Oh,
hole, and so that you could have a wall clock.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. You really got to go up and look at it though. You got to get up every time. It's a
Yeah,
small
but you know
space.
what? You do these details because you love them.
Oh
But all
yes.
the more you pile the details all through everything, it ends up collectively reading, I believe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and it makes the actors feel more like they're actually
Yeah.
part of.
We're providing that environment. Yeah. Don't you love that? Don't you love that research and finding that little nugget of like, I never knew that people would hang up their watches before. Like this is awesome. Or this like
This is
so
It's very exciting, actually. This is something that we really love to, to go deeper and deeper in the research
yeah.
and just to see what is behind, when we were looking at the anonymous painting, often, it's kind of amateur ones,
Mhm.
and what you see behind the people, and like on the third layer, that's what you find actually. You find the treasures on these paintings and drawings of the period.
Yeah.
So there we found a lot of things. Um, and also, I think that you can see it also in one of the images that there were like hair jewelry and the hair kind of decoration. So
Oh yeah.
it's I think it was in a herding house. There was a like hair decoration. That's what the women have been doing. That or it was just
And
from
we had woven hair
yeah, yeah,
pocket watch uh,
Holders.
fob as well
Oh wow.
from the
That
period.
that's
yeah, yeah.
that's incredible. I mean, that's it. That's the research that you learn on these things, and then it becomes like this is what they would have. Like this is the environment you're creating. It's like, and then you explain it to the actors, and then you explain it to everyone else of the research that you've done. I love this the choice of the fabric over the beds. I mean, I was that a decision that really had to be talked about with the DP and everyone to create like because it creates a lot of shadow, which I'm sure they wanted.
I mean, we discussed it, but it wasn't so much like whether we would do it or not, but how we would. Uh, oh, there was a few discussions where I think Jaren was a little bit nervous, um, but I had that from the very beginning on most of the beds, and Rob was very insistent on it as well.
Mm.
So we just had to figure out how to make it work
Yeah.
and in what way we can make it work.
It's such a statement. It's so beautiful, and then with the twins bed that you have it draping over both of their I have twins, so I was like, "Oh, that's awesome." I have boys, they would never go for it, but how beautiful that is and how simple it is. It's such a statement, and how it defines the wallpaper in this we're looking at the nursery photo of their beds, and I'm assuming a lot of your wallpaper is designed and printed, or
Yeah,
was yeah,
so
yeah. They're beautiful wallpapers all through the house.
It
there's a
was really.
lovely there's a lovely wallpaper museum in Germany. It took me a long time, to be honest with you. I've spent a lot of money on books and all of that, but probably my favorite source was this uh, wallpaper museum in Germany, Frankfurt, I believe. I've only spoken to them and seen their stuff online, um, but they have a fantastic collection.
Oh, wow.
The printing, it was also kind of challenging because we had to buy a special paper and to find a company that can print on this paper, because not all the companies want to use other paper than theirs. So it was also a challenge, to have the feel of real paper of the period.
We were doing this in Prague, so we
Mm.
didn't have as many um, vendors as London.
Mm.
Yeah. I have heard such wonderful things about the craftsmanship and the cruise in Prague from other people. I hope it was the
They're
same.
spectacular.
Yeah, I've heard that it's fantastic there.
They did a really great job.
Yeah.
And
And
if you need something carved or painted or honestly, and especially, this when we get to the sets,
yeah,
the craftsmanship there was spectacular as well. And uh, I ask a lot of them in terms of what we were trying to do.
yeah,
But with for Beata in particular, her workshop was humming. It was going full speed all the time. Um, Lots of really good wood carvers she had. Um, Fantastic painters that could paint icons for us and anything else. Um, Really, really a joy. Really a joy. And everybody was lovely.
how
Thank you.
I do want to ask too. The drapery is. I love drapery. I love different, swags and festoons. I'm all in. I love all the drapery choices and the colors and everything. Did you have research of that, or is that like designed for these rooms? Is how did you go
No,
about?
it was
Oh,
research.
Yeah.
There was like a encyclopedia of drapery. So we actually went through a lot of books and researches. So it
yeah,
comes from research.
paintings and everything. So it was all well researched, all designs and patterns from the period. But I mean, it was still all designed specifically for these characters in these rooms and how, what they are. I mean, you can't really tell necessarily in the photographs, but if you were to look at the Hutters, those are actually net.
Mm,
They couldn't afford the silks and the rest. Yeah, so they just have net with some trim.
yeah.
Remember what that trim is called, but the little balls,
Hmm.
um, as opposed to the Harding's house where
Yeah.
you
These
have
these blue ones. Yeah.
yeah you have a we have a little more money.
Yeah. Yeah. They're beautiful. Beautiful. I just love them. Um, what was your prep on this?
I mean, how much prep?
Yeah.
I think it ended up being 16 weeks,
Mm.
or 18. Maybe it was 18 weeks.
Was it
Yeah,
intense?
more. So I got to. I'm I'm not quite sure. I did some scouting up in Germany um, on my own, and then the team all joined me. Mainly, we were looking for beaches up there, which we never found. Um, And then I was also, at the same time, I was taking advantage of it and going to a lot of the cities, all the Hanseatic cities up there that I had been looking at, online and in books and but I wanted to go to them and see them and photograph what I could. And also I was able to pick out individual buildings for visual effects.
Mhm.
So they could scan them and we could use them in the deep background when we get to the cityscapes. Um, so I
Six.
had a bit more time, but I think Beata, did you have 6?
4 months,
Moment.
16, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 4 months. Mhm, mhm. Yeah, it was, I started, I think it was like the beginning of November, or, the end of October, something like this. And I know that I remember it because, uh, one of my colleague just called me before I was on the project and called me, it's a vampire movie and there could be an issue with garlic because of course we can buy garlic all the year, but not without stick, not without the tops. So to wave, to do the tail in case we really need them. So we actually had to pay guy to keep, a lot of garlic and not to cut the tops. Uh, so in case we need it, we would have it like in 2 months. So
Right.
it's
That's so
You
funny.
should call the farmer, ask him to save it.
yeah,
All the things you never think you have to do. That's like top priority. The
exactly,
garlic farmer.
exactly. Yeah.
Funny, and we didn't really use that much. We used some, but we didn't use that much. We used
Mhm.
white a lot
Yeah.
to go around the room, the things. That was also another bit of research. When you get to the Romanian of the period and their folklore, whitethorn, they would put that around their windows.
Mm,
It's all was used, thought to be used for the crown for Jesus. So
mm, wow.
idea.
The in the prep time, was it that the streets will shoot last? Like, did you have time for that, or was it like, hey, first up, we need the streets?
No, 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 no. The streets were
Because you
not
built
last,
a whole
but
town here. This is insane.
I
This is
know the streets
insane.
would not have been ready in 16 weeks. Um, but
Look at that. Look at that. That's
but
crazy.
we did a lot, that's for sure. Um,
Did they
yeah,
keep it up?
no,
Oh,
no, I believe it's all down.
oh,
Um, they Another film bought the chapel
mm.
that we
Oh yeah.
built.
I'll get to that.
Um, I hope they changed it a bit, but
Yeah. That is the
uh,
bummer of it, of like, I don't want my sets to go away, but I kind of don't want anybody else to use them unless you change
yeah, I
it.
don't care about them going away. I mean, I do understand the economics of it, and if you could sell it, then sell it, and if you
Yeah.
can, somebody else can use it and it can save their budget, then
Yeah.
fantastic. But
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 please.
my fear was, you're not going to sell this to a TV show and have it come out on their show before it comes out in my film, are you?
Right. Right.
I would have killed. So anyway, I got lots of promises that that wouldn't happen.
Well, that's good. I hope so. It is. It is. It's protective. You've. This is your work. I mean, look at that. It's crazy. All of those storefronts. All of those. I mean, the aging on this is phenomenal. I have to give appreciation to your
Thank
paint
you. Well, it's
department.
really important. I think it's really important to get all the textures and aging right. And then to that point, even here, one of the difficult parts for the carpenters, although they did a fantastic job and they really didn't bat an eye. All my idiosyncratic requests, they just sort of ran with. They got excited and did them. But none of the buildings are actually plumb or square.
Hmm.
So in this part of town, they're mainly just sort of either leaning in or leaning back, just so that when you see them, they don't feel so crisp and clean.
Yeah.
And then when you get to when you see the old town, there's a lot of those buildings are sagging as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a extreme example of sagging right there.
Yeah.
those all these buildings are just, I didn't want them. We certainly didn't want them so crooked and leaning that they felt like a cartoon. So it was a very, there's a very subtle amount of bowing and sagging. That's probably the most extreme. But even on the other street, if you look closely, you can see that they're not perfectly straight. Even these are not perfectly straight, and there is a bit of bowing to them here and there. Um, do you see it when you watch the film? I don't think that you. Hopefully, you don't see it, but what you would see if they were crisp would be something completely different. That would not feel, in my opinion, wouldn't feel like a real city. So you want to tweak it just enough so it feels real,
Right.
and uh, you know, and so that's anyway.
Well, I think the real
Because I made a lot of carpenters, shift things 1 degree, 2 degrees here and there. Um, I just want to shout that out because
it's a
they did a
lot.
fantastic job.
It's a lot. And two, I think for the viewer, in reminding of how architecture in small this is a small town used to be and how it was built, and as you might have had, the craftsmen to do it, but just put up the building, like get it, like let's get our building, we're not looking for precision here,
So it's going to have sat there for a while, and so
yeah.
there's going to be shifting, just like with any building, any house, um, and so things move.
I'm gonna get into the lighting also, but these lights are fantastic also. I mean, just the like hint of the street lights and practical
It came
effects.
from a drawing. It was a book from you, Craig, if you
Yeah,
remember. I don't remember the painter, but there were a lot of details there that we picked up and we
I think
use
that was Samuel Prout, if you want to know,
up.
because I used a lot of his. He was an English artist, illustrator, and engraver. And he happened to have gone through this area on a tour and did a lot of sketching. Um, so there's a lot of street life that you could get from that. I mean, there's a lot of other research that showed the actual architecture specifically, but that was nice because it had a lot of street life, and it's not, it's not easy to find. We have other paintings as well, but it's not that easy to find because it's before photographs, for photography. So you don't have a great
Right.
photograph of what people looked like on the street.
But there was a ton, I mean, I should have maybe included it a little more. There was a ton of street dressing. I mean, and then when
Yeah.
they're like getting ready for the plague and people are running around, I mean, these are full on this whole, I mean, it's a lot of dressing there. It's a lot of exterior dressing. Was that done in sections, or did they want to shoot everything at once? Was it
No, it was all ready to
it was
go.
already?
So we had two different looks.
Right.
Beata, you should talk about all the stuff that we brought out there, but there was a lot of awnings, and so the first time Hutter runs out onto the street, the idea was that we wanted this to be a very bustling and exciting harbor town.
Right.
Um, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of dressing, and then what happens is we stripped it all away, um, added a bit of snow. And if you'll notice, for the most part, things are relatively monochromatic because we did everything in brick, which is proper for the period and the place. Hanseatic towns these Baltic towns were all out of brick. They didn't have much stone. So you'd only have a little bit of stone accents here and there. Um, so, the idea was when you get to this sort of a look, um, that it was a little bit more bleak, a lot
Yeah.
more bleak, and desolate and frightening, hopefully.
And rats and mice.
And
Gross. No, I'm out. You could shoot that when I'm not there. I don't want any of that in my dressing. I don't want any mice hiding in the
well, that was
dressing.
perfect for you because that's exactly how you should feel when you see those rats.
I'm out. I'm out. No wildlife around. I'm not in for that. It's a massive build. I don't even know. I mean, I knew watching the film that it was all built and I've read articles and everything, but then when I saw your drawings, I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is like This is a whole backlot. Like you created a whole backlot there, basically.
It was a pretty good sized backlot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very good scale, you know.
Yeah.
So it worked quite well with everything what we put there. Uh, and you know, there is a lot of invisible set dressing, like Dora had to wear awnings we see a little bit, but even the interior curtains and some details in the window. Uh, so it was like 4 weeks of dressing, actually,
Oh yeah.
step by step.
I believe it. I
Yeah,
believe the
even
hard
in
working.
this version, as you're looking at it now, where we've stripped away a lot of the dressing, that still represents ton of work,
Yeah. Yeah.
lots and lots. And then we're boarding up all the windows and et cetera, et cetera. Um, and also shout out to visual effects. In this shot, you can see that we didn't go all the way up 5 stories,
Right. But
and
it does extend.
they extended that.
Yeah. It's beautiful. And the snow was like perfect. I gotta say, it's like not too much snow. It's a dusting.
Thanks. Unfortunately, we were not.
It's a dusting. It's still there. It won't
Yeah,
go away. It's
yeah,
cold. Snow won't go away.
yeah.
Um, I love this. These scenes to me were like, oh, this is fun. These people are nuts. But how much fun was it designing this? It's like a hut. It's like a
Oh, it's fantastic. It was really fun. And,
the Transylvania Inn.
I talk about things that I've done before with Rob. I have built buildings that have thatched roofs. That's for sure, between the Witch and the Northman.
Right.
But, it's really interesting the more you dig in, just the different styles and, what's what. So when I was in Romania, we were doing some scouting. I was with Rob and Jaron and Angela, who's our visual effects supervisor, and a few other people. Um, and we were looking at the Corvin Castle, but then uh, I asked if we could go to these two open air museums that they had, where they had taken a bunch of buildings. They didn't just recreate them; they actually picked them up from different places in the
Mm,
country and brought them there and plopped them down, and then refurbished them so that you could see, how people lived in different times. Um, but that was great. It was really lovely to see. It was amazing to see how tiny the windows were. Sorry, Jaron, or Tiffany. And then just how much carving there was. So we did a lot of carving.
I thought it.
And then for the Romanian camp, uh, we found some paintings that had some Roma. Um, I shouldn't say Romanian camp, the Roma camp. We found some pictures with Roma in them, and I thought they did a spectacular job.
Yeah. I mean that thatching, the roof of that, and is amazing because it's so thick and it's such a beautiful.
Well, that's the thing. It's not all thick all the way up.
No, but
The whole
it's
idea was to make it look thick.
yeah, no, it's
Because that's
beautifully
what
done.
happens on movie thatch, is sometimes that's just a little too thin.
No, it's
Um, I should also mention that cart there.
this one.
Now I can't remember the name of it. There's a museum about 2 hours outside of Prague that has carriages, and we weren't able to get much from them. Um,
I have
this was
your I have the carriage drawings that you did here.
that we built.
Yeah,
That
that
was
is a build.
that was a complete build.
And then so you rented carriages from, is that what you're saying?
We rented some carriages from different people. There was some people in town and all, but this was a Roma carriage from the period that was in a
Wow.
museum, and they let me take it out of
Oh,
the
wow.
museum and put it there. So every time I see it, every time I see it, I think, wow, thank you.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot to build.
I feel like I would have had a heart attack of like, oh my God, L&D, nobody touch it. Nobody, please, nobody break it. It's from a museum. I would've- Get the grips away from it, please. It-
They were great. They were really helpful, and they were very informative and generous with their time. I went by there when early on when I was doing some scouting.
Mm. The interior here is also fun with like the ornaments on the walls and like everything that they're using and then drinking out of and eating and everything and also I guess learning about how they're living compared to the rich.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Beata, you can talk about how you were able to get all these textiles and furniture. A lot of the furniture actually was built, though.
Mm.
Uh,
Mhm. But yeah, yeah.
I'll just mention one thing about the set, if I could. I did get the heights of everybody.
Yeah.
Um, and so if you'll watch, I made sure that our character, Thomas Hutter, is actually just a little too tall to go through those beams, whereas everybody else could get under them.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to make sure that he had the duck under each one.
I like
It
that.
was very tricky for all the tall set dressers
Yeah.
I know. So my apologies to all the buffs.
Yeah.
No, no, no. Just they had to have something on their head because they were always having some kind of small accident. No, but what was quite great that I had a buyer in Romania.
Mhm.
It was great. Uh, and as I said already, uh, you know, I never spoke to him. Just we exchanged few emails, and then every communication was via WhatsApp. So
Mm.
he was sending me a lot of stuff, and he was like hunting all the stuff, the gypsies and the people, the private people. So it was like we had to buy everything very fast. It was okay. Do you want it or not? It was
Right.
very fast, and really we managed to get great stuff, original stuff from 19th century,
Mm.
and it was just great. And he sent us all these books with patterns, with history of patterns, with these traditional costumes. So we could learn a lot about all these small symbols, embroidery, and more we read about it, more it was kind of really like scary. It was something which, some kind of uh, like people really wanted to protect themselves.
Right.
There was prejudice, there were legends. So each small flower, each small geometric pattern, it meant something. Um, so yeah, so all these structures, all these textile and ceramic, it's in there. Um, Even if we don't see it maybe too much, but we still feel it.
Yeah. Well, it's a completely different vibe. Like all of a sudden you know you're in this different world that he's like getting into. It's so and also the lighting. The lighting to me is so crucial in each of these spaces.
Yeah, Darren used all we brought in lots of candles and flame, and he did everything with that. He used all only the candles.
Yeah.
He did a fantastic job. He always does, though. He always does. Um, I'm glad you said that it seemed so different and strange, because that's 100% what we were trying to do. I mean, we wanted, when Hutter gets there, he should feel like
Yeah.
he's someplace. I don't know if I want to use the word exotic, but certainly strange and uncomfortable. Um, and not that this is anything about set decoration or set design, but I loved how Rob changed from the original, in that he just has them saying all of these things in Romanian, um, but he has no idea what they're saying.
Right.
So,
Right.
I mean, because that was one of the comments when I looked at when I watched the original was, they just told you don't go to that
Yeah.
castle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are you going? But
Yeah.
he
He
doesn't
doesn't know
quite.
what they're saying.
It's clear that there's something scary, and they don't want him to go, but it's not articulated.
Yeah. I think too it's a very like he's so over his head.
Yes.
He's so over his head like most of the movie. Like it's like it is. It's like a whole new world. It's like he's all right, but I'm gonna keep going because I don't know any better. He's not very
Yeah.
smart. He's not a very smart
Yeah,
person.
I just really, really want a good job.
Yeah, it's a sin.
Yeah.
And then we
This
get we
there's a lesson here for when you're treating your, please treat your assistants
yeah,
well.
yes.
They're really juniors, PAs.
Yes. Well, finally we get
That's
to
sorry?
Orlok's castle, which it was a full build also, correct?
Well, yeah,
So
yeah.
one thing though, the where you built the exterior streets and the house, was that all on a at a lot? And
Yeah,
then
so the exterior streets were in a back lot
right.
at Randolph Studios, and this is in, I can't remember which stage, but it's on a stage in Barrendorf Studios. The Transylvanian, village and Roma camp, that was, all built on a location. So that was actually
That was
to be honest with you, it was a hunting, uh, sort of a hunting lodge,
mm.
and we were off season, so we didn't have to worry about people with guns. Um, and
I hope.
that's what they told me.
Yeah, yeah, that's how they got you there.
And so we built it there, and that wasn't very far away either. That was probably what, 45 minutes away.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah,
I got a location tomorrow, it's 2 hours away, so I gotta go dress on this Sunday.
we had a few of those too.
The legs on this table are phenomenal. And backlit from a fire. I was couldn't take my eyes off of the legs of the table. Like, how
It was,
gorgeous.
Yeah,
it came, this was rental from England, this Elizabethan mm, style. But we actually we did because we needed a larger top desk, so the top is made, and we used just the legs. The legs were really majestic.
yeah.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff that we did in the castle would have been from, um, a couple hundred years before the time of
Hmm.
our story.
Right.
Was the idea.
And I mean, it's all crafted so beautifully, and the imprints and everything that you get with the lighting is so gorgeous. The lighting is so important in this castle because of the emotions it's giving you in the scenes.
Hmm.
But it also how it lights the sets is so great too, because you never really know where you are, kind of. You're like, are you in the dining? Where did he bring him to? Now he gave him a room? Like, where's he?
Yeah.
It's,
Well, that was purposeful.
yeah.
That was all
Mm, mm.
planned. Um, like I said, Jaren does a fantastic job of lighting. And, when I am designing things, I'm always thinking about the lighting as well,
Yeah.
in
The
terms of giving him opportunities.
I would say in dressing, I find it very hard to be sparse. I find it very hard to pick like one chair. Like it
That's the
bothers
hardest
me.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's a paradox, but actually, when there is just few pieces of furniture, it's harder
Yeah.
because they have to be really curated, and they have to be just perfect. There is no compromise. Uh, so that's why I went to England, to some prob house. I was choosing in the prob house of Barandov because there are some nice pieces as well. So we mixed it, but it was also the color of wood had to be the same, the style of
Yeah.
carving very similar. So it was a huge job as well. I know it doesn't look like, but I think
It is.
you know well what I'm talking about. But it's not as easy as it looks like. Yeah.
No. And it's harder too if you have like 10 options. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
'cause you could
Exactly.
justify each of them, and then you're like, why don't I have so many options? I should have just got 3 chairs, and now I've made it harder for myself. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's hard. Um,
Yeah.
and again, the lighting and the chair and just how beautiful it all is, and the depth that you've given into the windows, and the flooring is fantastic. Like the builds are just fantastic on this. It's
Oh,
unbelievable.
thank you.
Yeah, just
Thank you.
beautiful. Um,
You can't really see the carving in the bed that Beata did, but
oh,
her
here.
team, yeah,
Yeah.
spectacular.
Let
So
me
the top was
look at
part of a
this.
rental, but the rest of it is not.
Mm.
Yeah, the post, yeah, the bottom part of posts, it was made, and there was like three-headed dog, you know,
Oh.
the symbol of a gatekeeper, like the symbol of a point of no return.
It's hell.
the,
And you have
so
the fabric on there too, which lends to part of the story when he's coming to get him.
The fabric was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I know it's very dark here, but it was so spectacular.
Mm.
yeah, it was, really a huge job. The aging. We made a lot of tests because to age well the velvet is not as easy as it looks like. So we it was a huge job of painter, and of course it was hand stitched. And you can actually feel it. You can somehow
Yeah,
yeah.
we tested that. Beata pulled all that together early enough that we could do camera tests on it all.
Oh, nice. That's
So,
always so helpful when you
yeah.
have that time to do that. This I love too. I mean, this like his library and the chandeliers, and it's such a it almost looks like a gothic church in a sense of like this is his space to.
This was the one set that we did I reconfigured the Great Hall
Hmm.
to become the library. We added a few new walls,
Oh,
and Beata came through with finding all of our bookcases, and I don't know how many books.
So,
Yeah, I mean, it was a fairly contained scene, but it was a lot of work to get done at the last minute.
yeah.
Well, it
This
wasn't,
is
when I say last minute, because we were trying to turn around.
because you're turning it around. Yeah,
mm,
it's shot on Monday, it's shot on Wednesday. like
Yeah,
like
not
that.
quite that, but
Yeah.
that's the idea.
Yeah. No, it's
it was like 250 meters of books, and very old heavy books. I remember that I was dressing it by myself, so it was like, okay, the bookcase, I have to do it by myself, and
yeah.
you take one book another. So sometimes I was there like alone, and it was so frightening. It was just between the books, between this set which looked incredible. It was really, I really felt like, okay, I'm in a castle, and it's
Well, yeah. Well,
I thought
it's
you were going to say you could give up your gym membership after lifting all the books.
just hefty book workout. Yeah.
Not that it's in this photograph, but I just want to mention the graphics. Our graphics team did a spectacular job. We had a few different calligraphers, depending if they were doing German or if they were doing Dacian, which is a extinct language. So we ended up having to
Wow.
create it. Uh, we had a linguist that was able to help us, but mainly with the vocal, we had to come up with with a alphabet itself. Uh,
Yeah, that's incredible.
and did a great job. So we would do it in English because I can read English, and to give everything a rhythm, and then they would substitute and create Dacian. But they did a great, like I said,
Yeah.
I just think they did a great job.
Yeah, I mean, so many people, the contributions of an art department are so deep, and it's always going. It's always like, when we're really in it, the thriving of like everyone working together, it's like it really is magic that we can all get it done. It really is.
It is.
And
It
it,
is. And you know what? Everybody pushes you, like even outside the department. So I've worked with Rob and Jaron and Linda, the costume designer,
mm,
and for the editor. I mean, I think that one of the great things about working together over and over again is how you push each other to do your best.
Right.
and to keep trying to do better and better.
Mm.
And now we hope to add Beata to that family and keep her going.
It was my pleasure to work. It was very, very inspiring, and really this time that we've been working on this movie and on this period, it stays in our heart so deep. All my crew, it's, until now, it's speaking every day. Oh wow, how great it was, and we have been really immersed in this period and in this work. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's always the best. When you're like, oh, I don't want this to end. I don't want to break up the band. Like, I want to keep going. Nosferatu Part 2. Like,
he's not the dad, Nosferatu. He's not the dad.
yeah.
He's the living.
Or Locke's Return.
Yeah, there you go. I'm running out of time, but I want to say, like, the sarcophagus and the ghost carriage, like, these builds are amazing. Just the amount of detail that, I mean, all of the animals' heads and everything that you got going on that sarcophagus is frightening. And it's that molded?
Sorry?
Is that molded? Is that what is that made of? Can I ask?
Yeah, so we 3D printed some, we carved by hand some, we put it all together, and then we took a mold of it and we created this out of fiberglass to knock the weight down just a little bit. Some hard rubber bits, so when it gets bumped around, it could survive. So it has a steel frame inside, and that's pretty much what it's, and it had a false bottom. But they were talking about doing it in pieces where I'm sure we could have gotten it to look just as good as this. But I don't know that it would have survived very long. So, I insisted that they take a mold and we create it as one big piece out of, each one of these panels out of fiberglass, and put it all together so that it could take a beating, which it really, really needed to do because it was in several different scenes.
It's in the boat too, right? Which I don't even think I get to.
It's in the manor house, chapel. Yeah, it's in a few different locations.
The carriage is fantastic. I am gonna ask this of my own stupidity, but they didn't really bury bodies in the sand, did they? That's not.
No, they didn't. So, but what they did do is they put up crosses at the beach for sailors who were lost at sea.
Oh, okay. I was like that. Those people are not smart.
No, they didn't bury bodies in the sand. These are for sailors lost at sea.
Wow.
And we were lucky on this set because this is one that I really liked the look from the original film because it had these crosses. And I know Rob did too. It was certainly in all of his research as well. So we couldn't go to a beach up in the Baltic or really the North Shore is the ones where I found the dunes that I liked. So we shot this on a lake, and I kind of insisted that we build the dunes because they weren't there, even though we had a sand beach. And thank goodness we did. So all of this sand and greens and all these grasses, we brought all this in. The weekend before we shot this on a Monday. The weekend before we shot, they had been having some flooding, some melting snow. We had a lot of snow, and they released the dam above the lake. And you can't see, but on the other side of this dune, there's water where there was 15 feet of beach. If we hadn't built this, we wouldn't have had a set.
Oh, no way. Anything bad that will happen. I swear. When you shoot outside in the elements, anything can happen. It's crazy. I mean, that could have destroyed your whole set. You could have been like, well, thanks for letting us know.
We're very lucky. I mean, it came just right up to it. I'm not trying to pretend like it was 3 feet high on the other side of that. But the water came right up to it. And I wasn't sure that Jaron and Rob were going to shoot it when they got there because they had lost so much of what they thought they had in terms of a playground. But they they did most of the shots were still similar to what they were planning, but they just moved them back a little bit, and we were able to make it work. So we got the day.
I don't have it, but when they walk though, then you do see the
You
water.
do see a little bit of
Yeah.
beach that's a little bit further away,
Right,
kind of
right.
cheated that down the road a little bit. And where you can see a very small beach, that had been a very large beach
I see.
or a medium-sized beach.
This is my favorite set. Sorry. This is my favorite set because this had to be fun and you could do kind of
Yeah.
probably anything, right? That guy's
Uh,
nuts.
Strangely, it was very specific.
Von
yeah.
Franz's room. It's oh yeah, I guess yeah. Yeah, a lot of
You know,
detail. So much detail.
yeah, because Craig told me, uh, Beata, just be very precise about all these occultist stuff because Rob is very in it. So, and as I knew nothing about it, just, I just a few things. So I contacted a guy, from Hermetic Center give me an to give me advice. I contacted a guy from Institute of Biochemy, for
The alchemist.
for the alchemy stuff, and it was quite strange because alchemy it was quite well for me because it's mathematics, it's logic. There is a proof, and so it was for me. I understood quite well, and he was very good also in period stuff. But the other day when I met Mr. Kalach from the Hermetic Center when we started to talk about symbolism, about the side dark of these and all these stuff. No, it was completely another world and I couldn't really get it. It was for me very, very difficult mentally. So I met him several times and I was quite desperate, like, how I can dress this set because I don't really get all this stuff. I can understand what he's saying to me because there was something that he was not telling to me. It was quite strange.
Mm.
Um, he was open, but I felt that there were limits.
Mm.
He didn't
And
want to give you all the secrets.
because I remember that one moment I asked him, but just with all my respect to all these, do you really believe in all these stuff around? And he told me, I saw so many things you wouldn't believe that. Yes, I believe. So I was like, okay.
All right.
So all throughout here, even though it is, I mean, it's exactly where we were trying to go in terms of it being talking about the opposite of sparse set. But it's filled with there was two different things that we were sort of shoving together, which don't naturally fit necessarily. They did a little bit earlier, but Solomon on it, the occult. So there's a lot of things in here about the occult. There's a lot of work from Dr. D and from anyway, and then also alchemy. And so we had to find somebody that could actually blow us some glass and some of the things that are specific to that trade in this period.
Right.
Um,
I
but yeah, I mean, strangely, I know it looks like a clutter, but you could go through and look very tightly at different areas, and they do actually make sense.
it's what I get. I think you've probably gotten the note too. I just want some organized chaos. I just want some organized chaos, and that's who that guy is. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you're like, somehow there is there is
Yeah, I give a note. My notes are a little bit different. I think I asked for very specific things, and I just keep going. And
keep going.
every time I'd go in there, I'd be like, "Oh, this, what, Beata, this looks really great." And she's like, "Oh, yes, but I have just a few more things." And a few more things the next day, and a few more things the next day. So, yeah.
It's great. His chair that he gets up from and he's dusty, that's fantastic. That's probably the biggest laugh of the movie, I thought.
Yeah. That's straight from the script.
Oh,
That's Robert Eggers, yeah.
um, This monastery is phenomenal. I mean, the painting on the ceilings and the amount of detail put into this room is really amazing. Bravo to the painters and the sculptors, and it's really
Thank you.
gorgeous.
They did do an amazing job.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I was going to do this when I sold them on doing this. We were I just doing my research, I fell in love with these monasteries in Romania um, that have frescoes all on the inside and on the outside.
Hmm.
The, so they're just absolutely spectacular. When we were in Romania, I wanted to go and scout them. The studio wouldn't let me go there because they're all within 10 miles of the Ukrainian border and the war was going on. So I still have to go and see them in person.
Mhm. Well, goals. Next one. You get at that one. This though, how big? Because there is a photo here of an overhead of the set. How big is this? Is this like 10? Is this like 20 by 40? Is this?
That's probably about right.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe a little bit bigger than that, not
Mm,
much. And then that's the second room, and then the first room you can see um, just up above, which was about the same,
mm-hmm.
um, simpler shape, although it has the roof.
The barrel.
So I really wanted to get that roof shot. I really wanted to get the awe that I felt when I first looked at these buildings. I wanted Hutter to feel when he was coming through. Um, so the first one has a that beautiful roof,
Yeah.
that beautiful ceiling that you can see, but you couldn't have had a dialogue scene in that. It was
It's just
really echoey.
echo.
Yeah, so you see, then you pull into the next set, and there's no roof on it.
All right. That's
So the
funny.
Sandman didn't kill me.
That's funny. I that might have lent to it. He might have enjoyed that. Let him get him working. Get that sound guy working. Hell,
You know, kind of fits with the theme of the film. We killed Craig.
and then because then I was also thinking there's a lot of candles in this room with the smoke like going up on these paintings too. I was like, oh, that's like it's a lot.
Yeah,
But you know,
well, we
it's
did
moving
age
pictures.
it. We
Yeah.
got him up. We aged it. We put some gold leaf, imitation gold leaf, to get a little bit of kick because I knew it was going to all be flames in there. So, um, the gold leaf just is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dazzles. The
Um,
the chandelier in there, was that did you have to buy a lot or did you rent?
Beata built that
You built
chandelier,
that. Oh wow.
and it's gilded.
Beautiful. She's a
Yeah. It
giant.
was a very great reference that you brought from Romania, I think.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
guys did it. You guys knocked it out of the park. It looked exactly like what we'd seen, so it was spectacular.
Yeah.
Um,
That's awesome.
Even the painting was great on it.
it was really good.
His aging.
Um, I thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Because I get to be such a fan. Do you know what I mean? Like, and then to get to meet you guys who are pulling all this off. But
I'm a fan of yours as well.
the work, the work is phenomenal, and I really wish you good luck. And I'm so glad that it's recognized because it's the builds and everything that you guys did, and the building of all that furniture, and it's just amazing. It's really beautiful, beautiful work. So thank you so much for telling me about it.
Thank you for having us on.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you. Good luck. Such a pleasure talking with him. What an amazing, huge take on this was. I mean, those streets, those harbor streets, it's like a full backlot that they created and dressed and undressed for the play and everything. It was really amazing. And then those little details like you talked about, like hanging up your pocket watch. That's incredible. I love hearing research things and finding out little details in decor and design. It's fantastic. So I thank them so much for their time. And Nosferatu, I think, is I mean, design, the costumes, it's really up there in just really award-winning type design, I'd have to say. I don't know. So thank you guys for doing that. I really enjoyed it. And I watched the film again. I'm not a huge fan of the story, but the design is fantastic. Yeah, there you go. What do I got next? I got Conclave next week. So look at that, all up in your Oscar buzz. So I hope you got an earful. I am Kim Wannop for Decorating Pages.